Welcome back to Geopolitics Decoded from moderndiplomacy.eu, the show where we break down the world's biggest stories and the forces shaping them. I'm Maya.
And I'm Julian. Today we're diving into a seismic moment in Mexico's long struggle against organized crime. The military raid that killed Nemesio Oseguera, better known as El Mencho, the elusive leader of the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, or CJNG.
This wasn't just another operation. According to the report, it was the biggest security action in Mexico in at least a decade, and it marks a dramatic shift in President Claudia Sheinbaum's approach to cartel violence. As the article puts it, the Mexican military raid that killed the country's most wanted cartel leader was President Claudia Sheinbaum's biggest bet yet.
And it really was a bet. El Mencho wasn't just any cartel boss. He was arguably the most powerful criminal figure in the Western Hemisphere. The U.S. had a $15 million bounty on him, and he'd slipped through the fingers of multiple administrations on both sides of the border.
Right. And what's striking is how this operation signals a break from Scheinbaum's predecessor, Andres Manuel Lopez Obrador, who famously championed the hugs not bullets strategy. The article notes that critics say his approach allowed groups like CJNG to expand into everything from avocado extortion to fuel smuggling.
Sheinbaum, though, is charting a different course, and the U.S. is watching closely. Washington provided intelligence support for the raid, and the White House immediately praised the operation. But President Trump didn't let up on the pressure. He posted again the next day saying Mexico must step up their effort on cartels and drugs.
So Scheinbaum is walking a tightrope. On one hand, she's showing the U.S. that Mexico can carry out sophisticated operations without American boots on the ground. On the other, she risks triggering a wave of violence at home. And we're already seeing signs of that.
Yeah, the retaliation was swift and widespread. The article describes how CJNG loyalists launched attacks across 20 of Mexico's 32 states, torching cars and businesses and setting up more than 250 roadblocks. That's an enormous footprint. It really illustrates the cartel's reach.
And that's what makes this moment so volatile. Mexico has seen nearly 2 decades of cartel-related bloodshed, and Scheinbaum's political coalition rose to power, partly because people were exhausted by the violence. She's been presiding over a drop in homicide rates, but experts warn that killing El Mencho could destabilize the fragile balance that kept violence down in some regions.
One expert in the article, like Carlos Perez Ricard, explains that CJNG's dominance in certain areas actually reduced conflict because they had a monopoly on violence. Remove the top boss and suddenly the franchise model, and it really is a franchise, like the article says, a network of Mexico's ubiquitous OXXO convenience stores, could splinter.
And splintering means smaller groups breaking off, switching alliances, and fighting for turf. That's exactly how violence spirals.
Meanwhile, the Mexican military is already stretched thin. They're in the middle of a year-long offensive against the Sinaloa cartel. Hundreds of troops are deployed in Sinaloa state, and yet violence persists, including the kidnapping of 10 mine workers earlier this year.
So the big question is, can Mexico fight 2 of the world's most powerful cartels at the same time? Matthew Smith, a former U.S. commander familiar with anti-cartel operations, is quoted saying, "There's no way they could do it with both."
That's a sobering assessment, and it highlights the strategic dilemma Sheinbaum now faces. Does she double down and open a full-scale front against CJNG while still battling Sinaloa? Or does she risk losing momentum and allowing CJNG factions to regroup?
Either way, this is a turning point. The death of El Mencho removes a symbol of impunity, someone who had become almost mythic in his ability to evade capture. But it also opens a power vacuum in a cartel, known for its brutality and ambition.
And the political stakes are enormous. If violence surges, Sheinbaum could face backlash from the very voters who supported her promise of stability. If she pulls this off, though, she could redefine Mexico's security strategy for a generation.
We'll be watching closely. This story is far from over, and the next few weeks will tell us a lot about whether this raid becomes a breakthrough or the beginning of a dangerous new chapter.
That's all for today's deep dive. If you want more analysis like this, follow MD Briefing at Substack and moderndiplomacy.eu.
Thanks for listening. Stay informed, stay curious, and we'll see you next time.